everybody. Welcome to the engineering section of the team. It's quite appropriate for us to be on after the product team because we're basically the next step in the life cycle. They come up with all the requirements, and it's our role to implement them, test them, and deploy them. So we've got 3 Fintech CTOs. I'm David Jones. We've got Thekla from Payabl and Andy from Archax. We're going to cover what's the difference between engineering and development. It's a question I've been asked. What makes a good engineer? How you can use AI to boost your productivity, supercharge productivity, in fact, and the kind of skills that you need to focus on to break into a role in engineering. And there'll be some time for Q&A at the end. So first of all, Thekla, do you want to give us a quick introduction?
So, hey everyone, I'm Thekla. I'm the CTO on Payabl. CTO is a big title in a lot of companies. So what we do, let me start by introducing first the company. What we do, we are a Fintech company, so we're in the payment sector. We are building our Fintech systems, all of our systems are built internally, infrastructure-wise, communication-wise, everything. So we need to make sure that we have scalable systems to support the needs of our merchants. So we are closely working with our product teams, where they're bringing us the needs of the merchants, and we need to make sure that what we build is secure, it is scalable, and it's on the latest technologies, especially of what we are hearing out there in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of new trends, faster payments. So we are getting all the load from the product teams, and we need to build on it. So this is part of our day-to-day operations, but as CTOs also, we have the burden of the IT strategy. We are the core backbone of each company. So we do have our merchants, we do have the requirements, but without the proper technology supporting the business will not grow. So this is what we do, this is what I do at Payabl. So Andy?
Morning everyone. Yes, Andrew Flatt, co-founder, CTO at a company called Archax. We're a regulated, registered securities and crypto trading business with a very, very broad remit. The beauty of working in Fintech and also the pain of working in Fintech has got to do with regulation as well. But you're working at the forefront of kind of what tech can do because you're pushing it all the time because financial services have all the money and financial services have all the pain. So staying in this area is a definite tick box in your career aspirations. I definitely support it. What Archax does is, same as Thekla. We build all of our own tech stack to operate our business. The business is a real-time trading business effectively. So we can look after assets, including crypto, including traditional securities, including cash. We allow our customers to give that to us, and then they can use that to buy things on our platform. That may be a Bitcoin, and that may be a share of a company. We are at the forefront of this new world of blockchain and finance, and trying to stitch all those brilliant things the crypto world have done into the traditional capital markets universe, which is quite antiquated. You'd be surprised when you start your careers and get into some of these massive institutions how much is still run on a spreadsheet. And if you understand blockchain and look at what that can do, then move on to the services of running these workflows across kind of the London businesses that do moving assets around, it kind of makes perfect sense. Hopefully that was enough of an intro, but yeah,
That's great, thank you. And I'm David Jones, I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders of iPushPull. So we're a workflow automation and data sharing platform that's used by a lot of different participants in the financial markets. That could be banks, brokers, trading venues, pension fund managers, and so on. I agree with Andy, basically, when you're working in Fintech, you get to use lots of all the exciting new shiny technology, you get to use cloud services, but the pain point is that then you have to sell it into these regulated businesses that have got very high sort of requirements around information security and compliance and so on. So you get the best of the world in some cases, but the worst in others. In terms of the technology that we use at iPushPull, so we have the core of the platform is a web service, so we implement that in Python. We use Django, the Django framework for implementing that. We run all our services on AWS. Everything is, we do automated automated deployment using Terraform and Jenkins. So we use a lot of these automated tools in order to make sure that our deployment is efficient and repeatable and reliable. And then on the front end, we've got JavaScript applications using React, and then we've got a couple of DevOps engineers who handle all the different environments for our customers. So sort of engineering covers quite a wide variety of different skills, different technologies, and for kind of different applications across the business. So that's a quick introduction, I guess, but I think the first question we're going to tackle is what is an engineer? Because when I started my career, everybody was a developer, but now engineering is definitely the focus. So Andy, can you take that one first? What would you say? What's the difference between a developer and an engineer?
I guess 20 years, so my background as well, I should say, I'm not a developer. I've come up through a infrastructure background, so I was a kid when I left uni, putting computers on desks and fixing printers. I went that route, and then I went into the city and started buying trading systems and learning what traders wanted to do and how they work, and I've come at it from a business angle into tech. So give me some tech, I'll understand it. I'm a tech guy at heart, but I don't write code. So I would have called myself an engineer then, because people doing things, building things, physically putting stuff together, and the devs would say they were devs because they write code. Now, engineering and development are just flattening. The DevOps team, this DevOps function that you'll hear people talking about, infrastructure as code, Terraform, as you've spoken about, all of that is collapsing the boundaries between engineering and development, I think. And developers become engineers and engineers become developers. And we'll talk about it later, but with the advent of AI as well, it really removes boundaries. So I've got a guy on my team just yesterday, he didn't know what Terraform was. I mean, you should mention that. He's a database guy by heart. He's an older guy, he's like in his 60s now. And within the space of 12 hours, he's gone from, don't know what Terraform is, but I've constructed some Terraform files and he's given it to a DevOps guy. It didn't work, but he's done 90% of the work just because he got ChatGPT. So there's this real blur, but yeah, engineers generally see themselves putting stuff together, I guess, and developers are like coding from raw level code. But again, nowadays I think it's blurring, would be my view.
Thekla, what's your idea about that?
Indeed, developers, engineers are blurry now, and the mentality that we are fostering in payabl is engineering. So we do looking for developers, but different of engineering and developing is like we want somebody to challenge the product, to ask the why, to get more out of them. So engineering is not only about writing the code, but understanding why you're doing it. What you need to do. Is it any other way to do? So this is, I think, the main difference between developer, which it gets the requirements, follows the steps, writes the code, and done. While the engineer is the one that will ask the questions back. Why we need that? Why are you suggesting this way? I know better. It's best to do this way. It's gonna be faster. So this is engineering, and this is what we are pushing and fostering to our teams.
Great. I think considering the human factor is really important. You're no longer just working independently on your own, trying to get some code that does what you've been told it should do. You're working closely with the product team to understand the why of the code. You're working with the rest of the team, the development team. You might be reviewing other people's code. Other people might be reviewing your code. You've got to be quite humble to be a developer. You can't afford to be too sort of proud of your code and not wanting to get it changed. You've also got to consider how your code is going to be used and how it's going to be deployed, because you've got to think about, well, how scalable is it? How reliable is it? How secure is it? There's all these kind of non-functional requirements you now need to consider, rather than just specifically what might be written by the product team. You might not have considered these kind of things. And you also have to kind of consider your future self. You have to, you've written this piece of code, you're going to deploy it, it's going to be out there for years potentially, and at some point in the future it's going to go wrong, or you're going to have to enhance it. So you need to make sure that code has been fully tested. So we're very big on test-driven developments to make sure there's unit tests that allow you to detect If any change over here might have broken your code there. This is like one of our developers says, it's like, you know, turning a light switch on downstairs and the toilet flushes upstairs. You want to have a set of tests that can identify that kind of scenario that you just might not have considered, because you could be working on a huge code base where you've got no experience of some distant parts of the code that you've never worked. So you want to make sure that your code is maintainable, it's tested, so that when somebody comes along in a year's time, it might not even be you, then they can tweak it and make changes to it and know that it's not going to break. So what do you think makes a good engineer? What are the traits of a good engineer? Do you want to take that first, Thekla?
Yeah. So a good engineer, as I mentioned, it's the one that not scares of question. And as David was mentioning, you need to envision. You need to make sure that what you write is scalable. It's not just writing because you need to. Is the one that will challenge not only product, will challenge DevOps, will have a good communication with DevOps, because DevOps team and developers, engineers are working closely. So you need to understand how your code will be deployed. You need to understand the idea of testing, how the QAs, although for them it needs to be more in black box, but they need to understand the basic of what you write, depending on the test. Is it going to be a code test, testing the functionality of the code? Is it going to be a business test? So engineers are the ones that they don't only understand the code, but they understand also the business needs, why they are writing, what they are serving, what impact they do with their code. So this is my idea of.
I'm going to echo, and I think we're all saying communication and people is more important than tech. Unfortunately, developers and engineers don't always have the best personality and social skills, and I'm sure there's a lot of papers written that I should probably read on psychoanalysis of what makes a good developer. Funnily enough, Paul's my product guy, so we have a very mixed bag of developers. And broadly, I think number one, the thing you need to do as people is be open, as we're saying, and question and challenge not only what you're being asked to do, but what you're doing yourself. And that's probably one of the hardest things as humans we do, because you mentioned already, you can't be upset about somebody critiques your code, but you also can't be upset if someone critiques how you communicate. I've got examples in my company. We've got one guy, incredible developer again, C++ engineer, detailed, head down, writes brilliant code, is that fair, Paul? Writes good code, it doesn't break, but it takes him forever. He doesn't look up too often, he doesn't understand what the rest of the business is doing. He's got a senior position with the team, but he's quite insular, and he kind of has to eyes down looking. And in a way, you have to have that personality to sit there and stare at code. Like, I'm not a developer, I can't do it, it drives me crazy. I can hack a script together if I need to, but I can't write code. So all of my interview reviews of him and all of the personality, it's all about personality. Ask questions. Come to me if you don't understand. Why don't you think that somebody else is using your database that you've just changed a field for that's now just killed a load of systems? Like, you should think about that. Whereas he's like, no, I'm just coding. It's like, yeah, but you've got to be broad. You've got to look up, you've got to ask the questions, you've got to think, okay, I'm going to make this change. Like, I'm now going to change how the toilet flushes. Have I now just affected somewhere up or downstream? And that's the clever bit. The best devs that we have in Archax are the ones that can communicate brilliantly, sit in stand-ups and challenge Paul as product, me as leader engineer, as QAs, and they're communicating all the time. And that's the bit. The best people are the communicators. Developers and engineers aren't always the best at doing that. So challenge yourself, and as you're building your skills, really work on both sides of that fence. Be brilliant technologists in whatever field you want to do, whatever language phase you get into, just be brilliant. But also take time to think, okay, I'm shy. Go and join a club that does talking. Like, I don't like making friends. Force yourself to go and speak to people and focus on the business as well as the tech. Don't just do one side of the fence.
Thank you. I think it's those are definitely the core competencies that somebody needs as an engineer. I think when you're building a tech team, you are able to have variations. It's not completely cookie cutter or clones. You do need that person who will go through every single corner case and just try and find out exactly. Will pull at threads until they find something that breaks. But yeah, communication really is key, and like the worst thing on any kind of call is kind of silence, because it's very hard to understand whether your point has sunk in, or it's been understood, or and if the person is actually going to go off and just do something completely wrong. We were going to talk a little bit about using AI. So this has become part of the toolkit of certainly every developer in iPush-Pull. So just in terms of what we're doing, it's become a real sort of efficiency play. As AI coding models become more and more powerful, and OpenAI announced yesterday that they've got, they're going to launch a model that is up to sort of like level 6 developer. So that's something, that's replicating the skills of a really experienced developer. You can see that the actual development part of the engineering role is going to be increasingly handed over to AI, and then it becomes more of a job of testing and understanding what it's done, and making sure that the code that's being developed actually does what does what's intended. I mean, in terms of what we're doing at our company, our developers use a range of AI IDEs, so we use Cursor AI for the front end, you can use Copilot for the back end. Imran, who's there at the back, he can give you a bit of an introduction to what we've been doing with it. I mean, we started off in the gateway drug for a lot of AI use in development is writing unit tests. You've written a bit of code, now get the AI to write a whole set of unit tests for it to make sure that it's handling every single different scenario that you're going to throw at it. We're also using AI to implement configurations. Our platform's really highly configurable. There's a massive amount of JSON configs hanging around in the background. So now we're building AI tools that let a non-expert user just describe what they wanted to do. What should a grid of data look like? What colour should it be? What should, how should conditional formatting work in our application? So we're building a whole load of different AI tools and using them across the business. What about you, Thekla? How are you using it as a panel?
We actually using it in a very similar way, but at the beginning, engineers, they were afraid of AI. The question that I was always getting, is AI going to replace me? What are we going to do? We're going to fire somebody and we're going to use AI. I was like, no. Yeah, we have the motto of work hard, but you need to also work smart. The work smart part is using AI. So it can do some work for you, and this is where the engineering part comes in. You need to understand what the code says. You need to understand, because it generated an AI code. Doesn't mean that fit on your service, on your purpose, on your business. You might describe something wrong to the AI and give you a wrong path of code, a wrong values. Or as you said, on the QA part, again, you're having the unit test. You need to evaluate. Is this unit test correct? Does it need any tickle, or I need to adjust something, or is testing something that I do not have, a logic that I do not have? So it's a big part, and how I'm fostering and pushing the teams is using it as a tool. Like a calculator. We all have calculators. It's not like we stop thinking, but we do the basic with the calculator. Yeah, it's the same with AI on coding, developing, DevOps, Terraform, QAs. You are using it as another platform to help you to work fast and smart.
Yeah, we use it across the whole business as well, and similar journey. The devs were a bit, we don't like it, it's not good, we shouldn't use it. It means I'm not a good developer because I don't intrinsically understand. But then the quick wins you get are amazing. And the stupidity factor gets removed. So in the dev workflow, same tools, we use IDEs that have got little buddies in them that correct you as you go. We've just enabled a SaaS solution that reads all of our PRs, and the first person to respond on the PR is AI, and it'll exponentiate, it will look at capitalization, it will look at all the basic stuff. So that's now you've got DOM, or it means the human's not having to catch it overnight. Done. Amazing game. I guess the problem, and I feel sorry for the younger people coming through, is the problem we have interviewing. It's how you don't become lazy because you have AI. And I know what I would have been like at uni. And I'm sure everyone's in the room's done it. The problem you're going to have is how you use AI to be brilliant at understanding the low-level stuff. So I'm better talking about my universe, but I understand how a bit of information actually gets from the socket in the wall all the way up the stack in the OSI 7 layer model to get that information and how data works and how it flows around the system. And when I troubleshoot, I have a pattern that I've used for the last 20 years, and I start at the bottom, check. If you have AI, it makes you brilliant, but you don't understand why you're brilliant. And when you get quizzed and have to get into the more hardcore challenges, you need to understand from the bottom up. You need to have that intrinsic low-level knowledge, but it's going to be very easy for you not to bother to learn it, because you're just going to get AI to tell you. So there's a challenge there, but you can use AI to get smarter faster, because you can ask the right questions. So yeah, it's a real tough balance. But yeah, we've embraced it. It's speeding up development no end, and as I said in my example earlier, I've got a developer that is a developer, so he understands how code works, didn't know anything about Terraform, but he's written Terraform scripts in 12 hours and given it to someone else and he's used it. So the gains are there. Just ground yourselves and try not to cheat and take the really easy route, because you have to build that low-level engineering knowledge to become a good developer. And there's no shortcut in that. It's doing that low-level computer science work before you go up. But you can do it faster. That's the beauty of it.
Great, thanks very much. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So is there any, does anyone have any questions?
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Finn. I study maths. My question is, when building a new product, at what point do you transition from MVP quality mode to the high quality sustainable mode?
I can get that because with my dear product lead, we always have MVPs. So we're part from day one of MVP, from the idea, from the discussion, and I'm always trying to think from engineering point of view, from infra point of view. So MVP needs to have some infra. MVP needs to have some code in order to work. MVP is not just some canvas or some designs. MVP is something that is working. And if it goes well, then you continue developing it. So you need to start from level -1, as I say, to build the correct based infra, code-based idea in order for that MVP with product to be successful.
The code you write for MVP should be production code.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. What we do is when we do an MVP, we try to make sure it's production ready, but it could be a very thin slice through the requirement. So we don't do any kind of non-essential parts of the work. But what we end up with is something that could be deployed to production. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, how do you motivate your teams?
I can reply to that also. So how we motivate our teams? On Payable, we built a very different culture of teams. We call it product engineering, which means our engineers are product oriented. They're not having any product degree or something, but we keep them in the loop. They know of what they're doing, why they're doing this, what benefit of the company will have. So this gives them the motive because they know the benefit that the company will have and they're proud of. We're giving the ownership, all the congrats to them directly. So we have our rituals, we have our team building events. So it's not only about work, but we do care about them.
Yeah, just really quickly, everybody, as a good manager, everybody needs to be motivated in a way that works for them. And the higher, the more intellectual and the more clever and the more expensive the staff get, you do realise that everybody has very unique requirements to be motivated. Myself, I know what works for Paul Bark over there, very different to what works for kind of one of my lead devs. My other issue is I've got a global team, so we have a development business I incorporated out in the Philippines. We also needed lower cost resource. They cannot be motivated in the same way as somebody in London is, and vice versa. So they find things really important, like employee of the month, certificates, hampers at Christmas, and we're not talking about spending Fortnum and Mason hampers. I'm talking about a box with tins of food in it, like really basic stuff. But for us, why would anybody want that? But for them, it's a cultural thing that's super important. And that's the bit you have to tailor for where your business is, who you are, and good managers will tease that out of you as employees. And then if they remember what they're doing and they act brilliantly, because me remembering I say all this, but me remembering to do it all the time, I always forget. And you have to be tailored everything you do to the people you've got in the room. That's the hard bit.
I think so one of the things is if the product team is telling you what we need to build, we give our developers a lot of leeway in how it should be built. So they've got a lot of freedom within the confines and the standards of that we enforce, but they can make the decisions about how they go about it. And we also try and make sure that everybody's got the absolute best tools to do the job. We don't try and cut corners on development environments or hardware or software or laptops. We just want to make sure everybody's got the best tools that they need. Right, thanks very much everybody. Sorry there wasn't too much time for